I'm with GardenWise, and today we're going to be talking about how to plant a couple of containers. We're going to start off with this lovely ornamental urn that I found and I have repainted, and so we're going to start by adding this filter fabric, which what that will do, put it in the bottom, and it really prevents the soil from draining out, and it comes on a roll. You can use it, some people use it as a weed barrier. I really like using it in containers because it does keep your patio or your porch nice and clean. So the first step after we put the filter fabric in, we're going to go and we're going to put these superfines in. They're a nice organic matter, but they also lighten the soil, keep the drainage good. I'm kind of using them in the bottom right now, one container full, just to provide the drainage to the bottom. You can use something a little bigger than this as well. There's something called Virginia pines locally, which is a little bigger, larger size. But we're using this superfine today. And then in a aid to kind of keep the soil lighter again, I'm using something called Pro Mix. And Pro Mix is it's peat moss. It's a lot of lightweight soil mixture that won't add a lot of weight. And then I'm adding another component, which is leaf. It's basically composted leaf material. And this really, again, helps with the organic matter, but it also helps, it holds water better. And the thing with containers is you'll find is they really dry out quite easily. So oftentimes you really have to water them every day in the heat of the summer. So I'm going to add one more scoop of this, and I'm going to add this component, the compost, will kind of help hold the moisture a little bit longer. So if anyone has ever planted containers, that's like the biggest issue with them, is that they do tend to dry out. My own garden, I have, my yard is irrigated, but I went ahead and had the irrigation people add these like spaghetti lines, which are like a drip system, which really makes life so much easier. So they actually water once a day. Sometimes in the middle of August when it's really hot, I have them come on twice a day because they really do dry out quickly. I like to leave like a couple inches, maybe 3 inches down below the level. Obviously you don't want it to spill out, one of the reasons, but you also you want to leave a little room for mulch. I mean, I like either using a handheld watering can, or if you have a hose, there are these. You want to get one that's going to have a gentle spray on it, and not, because a lot of these plants are quite tender, you know. And then you want to mix them in so they're kind of different materials evenly distributed. Since I'm a landscape architect and I have my own business, I had to sit down and meet with clients. So sometimes in the same day I'm out there placing plants around, then I have to run off to a meeting, and you know, I don't want to be there with the fingernails or whatever. So. And these particular gloves are actually made from bamboo, so they're a renewable resource. So I think we're good here. Nice level. So in this container, I'm going to plant primarily floral flowering plants, and I think I might go ahead and stick a few herbs in. This is an old plant called stock. It dates back, I'm not sure how long, but it's an older plant that sort of has come back again. So I'm going to put this in the center of the container. And I like putting something a little taller in the center.
Okay.
Or if the container is going to be like a backdrop, against something, you can actually put the higher plant maybe all the way at the back.
Oh, I see.
So this one, I'm putting it in the center, so it could be viewed from like all around.
And what did you do with the roots? When I saw you.
Yeah, I kind of split the roots apart. You kind of want to break them up a little bit so that whenever you have a containerized plant, something that's been grown in a container, the roots tend to kind of wrap around the outside of the container. So you really want to allow them to kind of spread out on their own. That kind of, by busting them up a little bit, it allows them not to kind of just keep growing around themselves. So it allows them to kind of want to grow out and down more. So now we're going to put this other plant. This is actually a flowering, it's a sage, but I bought it because it's a good pollinator too. And it's going to have really a lovely kind of lavender colored flower.
Okay.
So everyone's been worried about the bees because a lot of the bees are having issues. So this is a good pollinator, so it will help kind of promote bee activity, which is really important to garden life. Bees pollinate and help aid in the flowering and the fruiting process. I'm going to add one more of those. I tend to be, this is kind of formal container, so I'm kind of doing it symmetrically. So we're kind of planting another.
So do you recommend when buying plants that you try to have just kind of pick a few and then pick multiples of that so that you?
Yeah, you kind of have to think about how you're gonna use the plants, and you also think about colors. Well, I think in a container it's important to have one primary accent plant. A lot of times people like using something that doesn't even need to be a flowering. It could be something that's just kind of a vibrant shape or color. But the most obvious thing, I guess, is you want it to be taller than the rest of the plants.
Okay.
And then also in a container, you want to think about plants that are going to spill over the top, which adds another dimension. You may choose a centerpiece plant that doesn't necessarily have a flower, but it has a unique structure or flower, a leaf color or texture, interesting texture. It could be bicolored, could have long, slender leaves. But you want it to be kind of a bold plant, whether it's a texture or a color. Okay, so we've gone ahead and planted a couple of these creeping jennies. They're really, this one is actually a perennial, so it will come back year to year. The rest of what we planted are annuals, and you will have to replace them. But this is a great trailing plant, and it will really start draping down the side of the container and add another dimension to the plantings. And it's such a nice, vibrant green color I love in the garden. Really, it makes things pop. So when we were speaking earlier, I mentioned having if this container were going to be viewed 360 degrees around, if it was kind of out in the open, I would definitely plant the container so it would look as good from each angle and not. But if this container were planted against a wall of a porch or something, you would probably just move all the tall plants to the back, and any of the trailing plants you'd either want on the very front or maybe. So we're pretty much done here. I'm just going to go ahead and actually first I'm going to put I'm going to use the the Virginia pine kind of is a mulch, and this it kind of mulching is important because it will help again prevent the plants from drying out as quickly. It also will kind of keep weeds down, making their way into the soil, and they actually also provide a little bit of kind of shade too, in a way. So there's a little barrier between the direct, the soil and the sun. And here we go. We're going to water our newly planted plants, and we're done.